I get it. When you're scrolling through Amazon, every UPS looks like a magic box that will keep your server humming and your home office safe, but the moment you plug it in, the reality can feel a lot less impressive. You've probably spent a few evenings reading specs, watching tech reviewers, and still wondering whether you'll end up with a piece of equipment that just sits there, humming, while your gear still shuts down at the first flicker. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The APC Smart UPS 3000 VA, model SRT 3000 XLA, lands in that sweet spot between a small business data center unit and a high-end home office power guardian. It's not a cheap line interactive device you'd buy for a router, and it's not a massive rack mount monster meant for a server farm. The sweet spot is where you have equipment that can't afford even a millisecond of power loss. Think a workstation you use for video editing, a small NAS array, a home lab server, or a point-of-sale system that needs to stay online during a blackout. First off, the biggest thing that separates this UPS from the many good-looking units you see online is the double conversion online topology. In plain language, the power never goes straight from the wall to your equipment. It's always being conditioned through an inverter. That means you get a clean, stable sine wave, and there's zero transfer time when the grid dips. For anyone who has watched a video render freeze mid-render or seen a NAS go into a forced shutdown during a brownout, that zero transfer time is the real difference. In my own test, set up a desktop with a 12-core CPU, a 4TB RAID 10 NAS, and a 24-inch 4K monitor. When I simulated a 10% voltage sag, the UPS held everything steady without a hiccup. The screen didn't flicker, the NAS didn't log any unexpected shutdown, and the render kept churning. What's often glossed over in the product page is the smart slot on the back. It's a tiny expansion port that lets you slip in a network management card. Once you do, you can monitor battery health, load percentage, and even schedule graceful shutdowns through a web interface or SNMP. For a small office IT manager, that remote visibility can be a lifesaver. You can set the UPS to send an email if the runtime drops below 5 minutes, or automatically trigger a scripted shutdown of all servers before the batteries die. That level of control is usually reserved for far pricier rack units, but APC bundles it into this 3000 VA package. Now, the practical side: setting it up isn't rocket science, but it does demand a little planning. The unit weighs just under 80 pounds and measures about 17 inches tall, so you need a sturdy floor or a standard 19-inch rack with the appropriate mounting rails. The ventilation on the back and sides is generous, but you still need to give it at least an inch of clearance on all sides, otherwise, the internal fans will spin harder, raising both noise and power consumption. Speaking of noise, the fans are audible about a 45 decibel hum at full load, so if you're putting it in a quiet home office, you'll notice it. It's not a scream, but it's something to consider if you're using a mic for voiceovers or streaming. One hidden trade-off with online UPS technology is the idle power draw. Even when you're not running any load, the unit consumes roughly 15 watts just to keep the double conversion circuitry alive. Over a month, that adds up to about 11 kilowatt hours, which is something a truly green-conscious buyer might want to factor in. For most small business budgets, that's a small price to pay for the power quality you get, but it's worth mentioning if you're counting every watt. Battery runtime is another area where expectations often clash with reality. Out of the box, the built-in battery gives you about 8 to 10 minutes at a 50% load. That's plenty of time to let your workstation save its work and shut down cleanly, but it's nowhere near the hour plus you might see advertised for larger, modular UPS systems that come with extra battery packs. The good news is that APC designed this model with an optional external battery module that you can stack onto the back. If you need longer runtime for a server that has to stay alive during a longer outage, you can buy the extra pack and effectively double or triple the backup window. The downside is you're adding another $400 plus to the bill, and those external packs are physically bulky. Who should buy this? If you run a small office with a handful of critical servers, a graphic design studio that can't afford a lost render, or a home lab where you're testing networking gear and need to protect against power spikes, this UPS hits the mark. It gives you the reliability of a data center class unit without the need to invest in a full rack of equipment. The ability to add a network card means you can integrate it into your existing monitoring tools, which is a huge plus for anyone.